Hello,
No.
people who play League.
Stop it, man.
Dang it. God, this is why we can never be business partners because you're not funny.
Hilarious.
JTH is back, guys. He's here. So we're gonna be talking about our LEC All Pro teams. I'm gonna quickly run down the two other teams, and then I'll say my first place team because he only has one.
I only have one.
Yeah. So my third team: Alphari top, Broxah, Nemesis, Sheriff, and Mithy. Not Sheriff. Oh, Patrik. I still keep calling him Sheriff. Patrik, Mithy, Nemesis, Broxah, Alphari for the third team. Second team is Hylissang, Rekkles, Nukeduck, Jankos, and Wunder. And my first place team is Cabochard, Selfmade, Caps, Kobbe, and Mikyx.
Say it. Cabochard who?
Cabochard, Selfmade, Caps, Kobbe, and Mikyx.
You put Selfmade at first?
I think relatively to what both of them have done, I think if you look at the last few weeks, Jankos kind of fell off a little bit. Rather, Selfmade was just literally consistent throughout just the whole.
Well, regardless of who you're talking about, I didn't put either one of those at my first.
Selfmade or Jankos?
I put number one on my list.
Okay, this is his first place
My
team.
number one on my list is going to be in the top lane Cabochard. I don't think there's a very big toss up between me and Wunder for a little bit.
But I think Wunder played like Cabochard toward the literal
he
very
played better
end.
than Cabochard in the last 3 weeks. But
Yeah.
I don't think that amounts to how well Cabochard played throughout the entire year. I think that it goes Cabochard in the top lane. Jungle is going to be Kold for me.
Really?
Yes, I don't think that. Yeah, it's not really that big a deal to me.
You put him over Selfmade and Jankos?
100% over Selfmade for sure. And Jankos was a big tosser for me, but again, I do think that the stats themselves are. It was a big indicator, like that Jankos should be put ahead. But I think that what Kold's done for this team, I think he's been the driving force. And like, I know Mithy is the reason as to why they're like shot calling well, but he's the reason as to why these shot calling calls can be made because he's pushing the tempo on this team. I think that pretty much just guarantees they're able to play the style they want to because he's playing so well at the beginning of the game. He's a smart jungler. I think he's the single smartest jungler in the league right now.
I think he's kind of taking the place of what Maxlore was a while ago. But he's a bit better. Like he would be like what an EU ex Mithy in some aspects. So who's your mid laner?
My mid laner is actually Nukeduck.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I think Caps honestly was not even the second best player on this team by the end of the season. Like he was probably third best player on the team by the end of the split. Like the very last few weeks, and honestly, he would have been fourth if Mikyx was still playing. I think that he played really well at the beginning of the season, but he really fell off towards the halfway through when they started struggling. When they started dropping gains pretty consistently, it was off the back of what he did.
I don't see that's hard
It really was
because
not-
it really in some aspects it really wasn't him because he got counterpicked a lot, and then in certain games he still made good decent decisions. It was like the bot lane was losing too.
A player that falls off completely when he gets counterpicked is somebody I can't give credit to. Like it's not. There's a difference between losing the lane slightly because.
Like that Zed game, he got counterpicked pretty hard.
Yeah, but there's no reason to die that many times. That's insanely.
It happened. I think 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, but he completely lost the game after. You can't die 1 or 2 times solo.
I know, but like that, those 2 games should not discredit the amount of how good he's played throughout the other games too.
Well, at the beginning of the year, I'll give him credit for that. I do think that in the middle of the year, and I think he had a few other games that he played well, but his back half of this season that was not incredibly good. I don't like the quality of level at which he played. Whereas Nukeduck, I think he had a few bad games throughout the entire year. He was the secondary driving force on this team. I don't think that anybody really kept up. Like these 2 players, Kold and Nukeduck, were the reasons as to why this team was able to continually keep winning. It's kind of it was a big toss up for me whether or not I should say Nukeduck because he did have a few really bad games, but
like there were games where you could kind of compare that to Caps too. Like he had a really slow start.
I just think that it wasn't. Caps had a really good start.
No, like for other players like Nemesis, who I had on my third place team, like he had a pretty okay. Like it wasn't a horrible start,
but
he
wasn't a decent start.
Like,
actually,
he wasn't like overwhelming. He wasn't like a real threat until later on.
I mean, he never played like the first 2 weeks. He played pretty decently well. I think that a lot of it came down to just his team is playing on off the back of a rookie. You can't really ask much more than just be a confident player. But I do think that he's not even the top 3.
Who was your bot lane?
My bot lane was Mikyx and Kobbe. I think.
Wait, that's weird. We had the same people.
Well, Kobbe is undeniably the best ADC right now.
I think because someone's gonna ask why didn't I pick Rekkles and why I put him on my third team. Rekkles to me, you gotta look at that Fnatic first half, and that was atrocious.
And it was really off the back of him and the bot lane and Whippo. Like, they were really the detrimental force behind this team as to why they weren't succeeding.
And Kobbe's just been playing good from week 1 all the way to, like, week
I don't think
9.
Kobbe has ever been the single best throughout the entire year. Every point in the season, there was a better ADC. Like, at the beginning of the season, Upset was better in Hansama.
I would have put Upset here if the Chalk had made playoffs,
Yeah,
probably.
I won't attribute it to success, but I do think that he did actually make a few mistakes. I do think he is probably the best ADC, but it's not. I can't just say.
I think he would be like.
He would be number 1 if his team was doing better, because I mean they're funneling resources into him. It's if he's not able to make them at the very least make playoffs, then he's not good enough.
But he was good last year too.
He was good. Like, again, he still is. If he had a competent team around him, I think everybody would probably agree that he's the best ADC. But right now, you can't say it.
I think Kobbe is a problem in only just one aspect. Like, he does lose to better ADCs than him. Like, in the last game that Fnatic and Splice played, they just lost really bad. But I can't take that away from everything else he's did throughout the whole split. Like, Rekkles had a longer, worse split than Kobbe did. And I think Kobbe just played great.
I think Kobbe, at no point in this season was he the best ADC at all. But it doesn't matter.
If you're talking about consistent, then yes.
Well, obviously, that's what I was getting around to. That if you didn't see where I was leading up to.
Fist bump?
No.
Dang it.
Don't just, whatever. So, he's never at one point in the season been the single best ADC. I think at the beginning of the season, those 2 ADCs that I named off were better. And then at the end of the season, I think Rekkles was the better ADC. But at the very least, he's always been in the top 3. He's always been up there. He's been playing well throughout the entire season. And that's something in one of the most essential roles in the game. You can't ask for more than that.
And Mikyx, why was he there over like Hylissang and
Hylissang
Mithy?
played horrible throughout the entire year.
But he after that first half, the second half, he looked
Not good enough.
He got back to his form.
He played well.
Yeah,
he played well. Again, he wasn't the driving. Like, he had a few really pop off games. Like the first game where I think that Fnatic won, he played Braum that game, correct?
Against Rogue, where they kind of got their momentum
Yeah,
back.
again, he played really well that game. He was the but again, there was a lot of things that I think that Hylissang could have worked on. I don't even think he was a top 2 support this season.
That's why I put him on the second team, because I feel like Mikyx, you don't have to give him at least the benefit of the doubt, because with Mikyx there was an issue where he said his wrists were hurting. Even when his wrists were hurting, he looked like the best support. And that's something. Like, he had wrist problems and still managed to play really well. I think, like, if Perks doesn't have Mikyx, Perks is probably going to be like HQ level of an ADC. Maybe, because of just how well Mikyx played. Let's see. So I could kind of go down my teams. I felt like Alphari improved a lot throughout the split later on.
Improvement is one thing. Third place team is not another, because not even the first half he was horrible. He was absolutely terrible.
But when Origin started turning it on, I felt like he
still wasn't even a driving force behind this team. Even when he was just I'm not feeding anymore, and that's all he ever came into being. Like, I get that Origin turned it around, but he at no point in this season has he been a viable carry threat.
As from what I saw, he started to play more of the way he used to play back on Misfits, but he was playing that in more of a supportive role, which I thought was very good.
I agree that's decent, but again, he really never came back to, like...
It was either that or Bwipo.
I mean, I don't think those are the 2 toss-ups, man.
Yeah, I mean...
Expect to play better than both of them combined.
So that's the thing, though.
You're going off of success more so as who played better. Expect is the better player out of the 3.
But we just haven't seen that a lot. Like, we saw that a few games.
What? He played well throughout the entire season.
Except for, like, there was a few games out of those where it was, like...
I'll give you, like, he had a few bad games, but for the most part, I think Expect is very much, at the very least, like, he should be in contention for that 3rd spot.
If I had a 4th team or a 3rd team...
If I had a 4th team or a 5th team, I don't think I still probably wouldn't put Bwipo up there.
Or Alphari?
Alphari is just played terrible throughout the entire... Like, I still don't think he played that well.
And then for Broxah, I feel like Broxah was never really a problem for them.
He was non-existent at the beginning of the season.
That's the thing.
That was the big thing. Like, he didn't feed.
That's why I had him toward the very bottom.
He would if I had to pick somebody, he would be my 3rd place jungler, because I don't think he wasn't in contention with these. Actually, I don't even think I'd put him in the top 3. No, he wouldn't ever be in the top 3 for me. There's just better junglers in the league right now. Like, we look at Selfmade, look at Jankos.
That's why they're above him.
Cold played way better than him. Kold played well throughout the entire season.
So that's the thing. I think Kold's thing was more of a benefit of Origin themselves.
Literally, tell me a second person on the team besides Nukeduck who played better than him.
Play better than Kold?
Yeah.
At certain times, Mithy did.
Mithy had a few games where he had good engagement. For the most part, Kold has been the singular driving force on this team. He's been one of the reasons as to why they've turned their season around. Is based off of his early, like, his jungle pathing, his early game presence. All these things are just benefits of having Kold on your team.
I'm putting Patrik as the name because I'm gonna keep calling him Sheriff.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
what do you think about Patrik?
I think Patrik, again, I think he played really well last season too. I think that, I mean, again, he was called Sheriff then, but at points, he's been in a lane with somebody who I would say at the beginning of the year was one of the weakest laning supports in the league. Like, Mithy turned it around, and I do think he's playing better, but he was not in good enough shape for me to really believe that Mithy had what it took to be a good support. But
yeah, Mithy came out and said this year he was going to practice a lot and get better.
Absolutely turned it around. I think he's been really beneficial to this team's success. And Patrik is a viable, like, again, he's not somebody, you can't look at him as like an upset. You can't look at him as like a Rekkles. Like, he's not going to be a pop-off player. He's not going to be this late game take-up, but he's going to be a consistent ADC. And I think that even if he's not going to win the lane, but he really will be a solid secondary carry threat behind what I would say is Nukeduck. Like, he really did provide a lot of support for this team. I do think he was an incredibly good player. It's sad, really, that, like,
we can't put more people here.
Yeah, there's a lot of good, like, ADC. I think is the most stacked role in ADC and top.
Yeah.
Two most stacked roles in Europe right now. They're incredibly talented.
We disagree with this a little bit, but I did choose between Nemesis and jizuke. The only reason why I went with Nemesis because I felt like throughout the whole split, Nemesis was just more of a what was the word I would use? More of a solid, refined mid laner. But he wasn't like jizuke. What he offered was a lot better towards his team. Even you argued for this guy when I was braiding down his throat.
Well, yeah, because you said that he was the worst player on the team.
I said he did nothing with his leads when they were giving him resources.
No, I remember we talked about this, and you said he was the singular, like, we can go back to the videos, you said he was the singular worst player on the league team, and I said, no, that's not true. He's not pushing his lead, but he just came into the league. He's a new rookie, and he's been one of the most consistent rookies that we've seen out of the entire league. Like, I think that, I agree, he's been a great player.
Yeah.
He's been a really benefit to this team, but he's not been a third player. I think that the top two are obviously refined, and Juke has been a legitimate carry threat throughout this entire year. Like Nemesis has been really solid this year. He's gonna, like, honestly, he has the potential to be a really good player in this league, but Juke really was an actual legit carry threat. He was the secondary carry, like, him and Cabochard are pretty much the reasons as to why Vitality made it into the secondary part.
If they are not on Vitality is probably like XL level.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not even close. XL's way better than them if he doesn't have it.
If they don't have those two players?
XL's actually a legit team right now. I think by the end of the year they became a good team. I'm excited.
It kind of sucks though.
In this summer split, I'm kind of excited to see.
They kind of turned it on way too late.
Well, no, they got Mikyx he's a good pickup.
Yeah. And I felt like jizuke, he threw the game more often than he won it, like he did last year. I felt like from what I was watching, he gave up a lot of mid lane priority by getting chunked out, having to leave. He always went for random 1v1s that caused the trade. Like, he got the trade, but it didn't really mean anything because he never really did much after that with everything that was funneled into him. He got most of the resources.
That's literally the definition of what Nemesis did. I think that he's been really consistent for this team, but at the beginning of the year and toward even the middle to later half of the season, I don't think he did. He didn't push his leads. That's a big detriment to this player's.
I felt like he started to.
He started to a little bit, but Juke always attempted to push his leads and really successfully did it a lot. I think that the reason that he did, he almost always pushed his leads successfully, but you can remember the games where he lost. I mean, he didn't do it well. Like, I get that it was a big detriment, and that's why he's not in the top two. But he still was incredibly talented.
Yeah, I was saying, guys, you could switch him with jizuke. I just thought what I saw in Nemesis was just a little bit better.
I don't know about that.
And then Hylissang. I felt Hylissang really turned it on toward the back end where Fnatic had their winning streak.
If you want my honest opinion, as a third place team, I would put Mikyx over him. Mikyx.
This is the second place team.
You're in the second place team.
Yeah. I felt like he really got back to his form throughout the back end of the split where they went 11-1 like TSM did. I feel like he really improved on everything.
Hylissang over Mithy?
Over Mithy?
Really?
Mithy, the thing with it, like, he never impacted the game the same way. Like, yes, he had engages, and yes, he warded deeply, but he never, like, drove his team the certain way. Like,
he literally is the shot caller of that team, and the reason they're succeeding is because they're the best shot calling team in Europe.
But I felt like Nukeduck and Kold could do that too.
Nukeduck and Kold, no one in Europe's entirety, in the entire league can shot call as well as Mithy can. This is one of the most iconic.
I'd say Rekkles could.
No one can. There's not a single.
He's just like, no.
I'm sorry. There's not a single like player in the league right now, even probably in the Western scene, that can shot call as well as Mithy can. Mithy is the best Western shot caller in the league. Like it's just the biggest reason why they turned it around. Again, he's not a lot of good like engages, but the reason I'm putting him I would put him at second is because of what he's done, like behind the scenes too. Like we can't hear all of the call he's making, but between the behind the call, like the shot, the what's it called?
The G2 game?
No. When they let us hear when they talk.
Oh, mic checks.
The mic check between that on top of the fact that just based off of the fact that he is the one that instigates all this stuff.
Yeah,
like, we can see that he's been him and Kold have been most of the driving force behind this team. Like Nukeduck, incredibly talented. Like what's it called? And the reason that like there's been a lot of things I can't attribute it to one player, but his shot calling has been probably the main reason. Like Kold's ability to be an aggressive, talented jungler has been one of the reasons why he's been able to shot call well.
That's weird though.
Nukeduck's ability to win the lanes almost always has been another reason. But Mithy is really essential to this team, as are a lot of these players. So I can't really take away from him.
I have my next was Rekkles for the second place team. So
I agree with that.
I felt Rekkles turned it on throughout the back.
Turned it on insanely. Like
There was one bad game he had
where
he had the game where Vitality threw, where he had the big Lucian lead and he never did anything with it except get caught out and lose.
I mean, you can't really push a lead as an ADC because you have to wait for somebody to engage or them to engage on you.
But he had a massive laning phase lead, and they never coordinated dives to really push it.
You can't do any again. ADCs can't coordinate. They don't dive themselves. They essentially engage on whatever anybody else does for them. So he can only either
do as much as the team is allowing him to do.
That is one of the biggest detriments to the ADC role.
Back in the day, it never used to be like that though.
Because you could one-shot people as Caitlyn from mid-turret. Yes.
That was not fun.
Like she was able to push her leads, and the
Kill
way
you.
Gold worked, you could literally just win the game immediately.
back when the ADCs did damage. Remember there was that meme of ADC in 2017.
Okay.
Well, that's when it went to Jhin, Ashe, and Varus, and that was terrible.
So what's next?
Okay, I had Nukeduck on here for my second play. I felt like he was really good throughout the entire split. He was absolutely incredible. The thing with Nukeduck is that I feel like the games they lost, he just stood there and did nothing. He would opt into a late game pick and he would just want to scale, and that obviously caused some problems. There were some games where he got beaten more often than he won. There was a few. The last time they faced Fnatic, he got obliterated by Nemesis. That was atrocious.
I agree. Nemesis did actually beat him there.
He got revenge after the first week with the Galio Vayne pick. I feel like Nukeduck can be more of a passive mid laner that doesn't really drive his team at certain points.
I mean, Nukeduck is really he really does change his whole playstyle around the pick that you give him. He can be an aggressive laner, but you have to give him an aggressive pick.
And then for my jungler was Jankos. So Jankos, I think, just performed really well.
Jankos, if you just look at stats wise, he's the best jungler in EU.
I wasn't really looking at stats. I was going off of the gameplay that I saw.
I'm just naming.
He had the best stats, really?
The single best.
I thought Selfmade did.
No, single best stats in every single category.
That's crazy.
It's best KDA, best everything.
That's ridiculous. That's incredible. I feel like the last few weeks on his Lee Sin pick, he just the picks that he was given Karthus and Lee Sin, and Elise, he just really wasn't that impactful.
Well, I mean, again, I agree that at the end of the split,
and that's 4 games consistently. That's not you know.
I mean, everybody's had 4. A lot of the players, even the top tier players have had spans of 4 games where they played poorly.
Yeah. But
I don't again. You can attribute it to at the beginning of the season. If you look at success of G2, I would attribute it almost solely to him. His ability, he was the single drop. Again, his aggressive early game jungling, all the pathing, all the early game ganking, that was all him. It was literally if they had had a different jungler, they would have lost a few games at the beginning of the season. Even though Caps is incredibly good and he did carry a few games, he was not
just the impactfulness.
Yeah, he was not as impactful as Jankos was. I think that Jankos again played well throughout the most of the year, but I don't think he played that well at the end of the year. That's why I can't give him that's why I gave Kold the first place, but Jankos played absolutely tremendous.
So someone would ask, why wouldn't you put Selfmade on your jungle list at all?
He's number 3.
On the 3rd place team?
Yeah, he's on the 3rd place team for me.
So why was he be on a 3rd place team and not a first?
Well, I mean,
first
again,
place
I
team?
think that he had a lot of pop-off games, but I think everybody's attributing it to the big plays that you see him making. I think that he was the single reason as to why SK won. But I mean, again, SK only barely made it scrape their way into playoffs.
That still was because of him though.
It was because of him, but it wasn't solely because of. Again, if you look at the stats wise, the only times they ever won games was when Dream Shots was popping off. Like not Dream Shots.
Crown Shot.
I call them Dream Shots.
I mean, their bot lane is not bad.
But a Crown Shot was no. Dreams has been okay, but Crown Shot was the single. Like he was like they were popping off. Like if you look at wins, it came off the back of Crown Shot's playing really well this game. If he's not, then that's not good. Like I do agree. I do think that Selfmade was incredibly the driving force behind this team, but like he would essentially force the game into we're ahead now, and then I don't think he really scaled. He was not a scaling jungler. He had the aggressive early game, and then if it got to the later half of the stage, he kind of took the back seat to the rest of his team, which is something I don't like to see in a jungler. If you take control of the game, you get the early game gold leads, you should honestly take over the game. You should have the lead at this point. Like you should be the driving force behind why your team finishes the game. But I never feel like he took that initiative to finish the game off. I
felt like Selfmade, he still provided a lot, even though like he was on a different style of pick. Like first part of the split where we still had 10 junglers, he was just a massively impactful jungler, and like that's really hard to do as a tank player, to be still impactful as if you were playing like a Xin Zhao. But nonetheless, Wunder was my second place top laner. I felt like Cabochard was just better, he was just better throughout the whole split.
Not throughout the whole split. Wunder at the end of the split was by far.
Yeah, Wunder was better at that, but that's for the end. Cabochard from like week 1 to 7 was just.
I still think it's very arguable that you could say that Wunder because.
Yeah.
But I do think that Cabochard's early game, like again, his ability to
wins lanes, solo kills, pushes his advantage,
TPs. Everybody does all of that stuff.
I mean, he TPs at a certain point in time where he's massively impacting their team fights too.
If Wunder played as well as he did at the end of the split throughout the entire year, he would have been the best.
I would have
by far and away first
place.
But Wunder had a slow start to the season. I think it's mostly because they really tried to focus around the bot and mid lane, and they were like towards the end of the half they realized Perks isn't that good. So they had to stop. He's not that good.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'm not giving.
He had Promise Q. Promise Q sucks.
He was not good with Mikyx either. I think that he was really bad on the ADC picks, and that's something that's going to make them less versatile. And I really do think they're going to struggle if they make it to an international stage. They're going to struggle really hard because of him.
The thing I won't give him the benefit of the doubt is when he did actually play ADC picks, he would do very, very non-ADC related things.
He has a few. He's moderately decent on Ezreal and
Draven.
Lucian. No, just Ezreal and Lucian.
Really? I feel like he was Dravens were passable.
No. I've seen like that was just basic Draven stuff.
Like I think he's still adjusting to the fact that mid laners, they have escapes. They can escape out of like a lot of situations. ADCs can't do that.
Everybody believed the versatility he'd bring with being able to play mages in the bot lane would be good, but you need to be able to play the main category of ADCs to be useful.
Yeah. You still have to be able to play the basic ADC roles. Like the basic ADCs a lot of people play, like Ezreal, Lucian, Caitlyn, Jinx. Stuff like that. Well, Jinx kind of fluctuates in and out of the meta, kind of.
All right, so...
my first place teams? Mikyx, he was just incredible.
What even... Where are you going?
I'm just
You're supposed to be on third place team now. Oh, you already went through your first place team.
Yeah. Most of that was okay. I feel like a lot of that was fine. I feel like Wunder... He was able to do random stuff that Cabochard couldn't. Like, there was a game against Excel. He played stage 1, he top, and he was helping them win the game. Like what in the world?
Like, I do think that Cabochard played well throughout the entire year, so he's earned that first place team. But
Wunder didn't lose to Expect, though.
That's fair. But Wunder did lose to Cabochard. I don't think I should say that. I don't think that's really true.
He lost pretty handily, too. That was incredible.
It was definitely in Cabochard's favor.
This is a Jarvan to a Camille, like, holy crap.
All around, I do think that Wunder is going to be the better player the next split, because I do think he's a better player than Cabochard.
Mm-hmm. So since your teams are a lot different than mine, you had your first place team, so who would you pick for second?
I don't...
If you had to choose, like, second place team
or something like that. Do you want me to make multiple teams for some reason?
No. Because you had, like, just who would you pick for, like, your other teams that you couldn't pick for the first one? Because you said Kold, Nukeduck,
I already ran through them with you. Every time you picked something, I said something.
Oh, yeah, you're right. All right. You would have had jizuke in there, wouldn't you?
jizuke was my third place team.
Yeah.
That's what you said. You wanted me to
and
make.
You said no Selfmade.
Selfmade was third place team.
No, not top 2.
No.
Okay. So where would you put Jankos and all that?
Second.
Okay. So we had Jankos at the same position. I just felt like I had Selfmade a bit higher for a lot of different reasons, but I feel like Selfmade is just an incredible jungler. Like, without him, SK Gaming is probably like, what, Rogue level, XL level, maybe?
Probably, yeah, around there.
Bruh.
I do think he's been essential to their team.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there were some players here that we couldn't put on here that were incredible. Like, Expect. I did think of him. Like, he was playing great.
Did you even talk about your third place team? Who's
I did.
Third place?
I mentioned it. Alphari, Broxah, Nemesis, Patrik, and Mithy.
Well, we kind of talked about it, I guess.
I mean, we can go. I mean, Alphari.
We have to go over it.
It's up to you.
I don't care. I mean, talk about team players you didn't get to bring up.
Yeah.
So there's Expect. There's another good player would be
Mowgli.
Mowgli was okay.
I
don't think he was up there.
I felt like he had some shining points, but first split, the team was.
I can honestly give credit to Warlove where it's due. I do think that he played really consistently throughout the entire thing. He got a lot more slack. And Cadril, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Cadril 100% deserves at the very least some respect for how he's played this year.
Mm-hmm.
From one of the most laughable careers to one of the most aggressive and successful early game junglers in the league. I think we're gonna see XL turn it around next split, and I think it's gonna come off the back of him.
Man, that's crazy. I was Cadril, Warlib, Expect. I couldn't put up here. Jizuke I couldn't put. There was other players I'm thinking of right now. Humanoid played. He was a very underrated mid laner. He was better than Abadage and almost as better.
Why do you compare Abadage to him?
Okay, you had some hype for him coming into the split.
Everybody has hype for new players, yes, because you don't know how good they are. They have potential.
I felt like Humanoid went largely underrated. If Splice had like Abadage, they probably don't even make playoffs themselves. Because I felt like Humanoid, what he offered to the team was what a mid laner should offer. A nice, decent carry threat. He can play flexible pick. He was willing to take the supportive role when they needed it. He won lane more often than people give him credit for. I don't know what games you're watching. He won a lot of the lanes. I think he lost.
You don't know what?
Like he lost on like he lost on Lissandra, but I mean Lissandra getting counterpicked is something like he can't really deal with.
I don't know who you're talking. You said I don't know what games you're watching. Who's that to reference towards?
Got to all those silver analysts to Reddit. I beat him. But anybody else? Can't think of.
If we're gonna talk about who we can think of, I think that there was another one I was thinking of. You were talking.
Is he on a top place team?
No, I was just thinking of him too. He was a. Wow, I completely forgot. Upset. Upset again. Again, I think that most of it comes off the fact that I don't think they made playoffs, so he doesn't really deserve it. But I do want to mention him because I do think he has the single best he's the best mechanical ADC in Europe, best late game ADC by far in Europe. Like I just think that there's so many things that he should have been able to successfully play, like been able to do something this year, but it just didn't come. It just didn't work out because of the fact that I think that they centralized almost all the resources to him, more so as they should have kind of developed. Like I really do think they should have put more of it into the top laner because Odoamne was playing well at the beginning of the year. Another one is that I think that, like they focused around him and they still didn't succeed. Really, I don't like that. I think that if you're gonna solely focus on a player, you need to do it on a player that's able to carry you to the win. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's really off the back of him. More so as his role, like the ADC role itself, is not able to carry solely because they don't have the kind of like carry potential that the rest of them do. They just are an insane late game carry style character. You can carry as hard as you can the moment you have competent enough players to peel for you, which I don't think he had. All around, I think that's pretty much it, right?
At the very end, who was your actual MVP for the split?
Another one I want to bring up before we do this is Mikyx. I think that Mikyx 100% is turned around. Like I think Vander played it well.
Vander was good in the games they played him though.
Vander was good, but again, Mikyx was just on another level. I think that
Mikyx, he was.
Was it Hylissang or Vander?
Was it Hylissang?
No, it was Hylissang. What am I saying?
Hylissang for XL, right?
No, Vander's on Rogue. No, Hylissang played pretty decently when they played, but Mikyx was 100% an incredibly good player. I think that, again, he was one of the most impressive. Honestly, if he played this well throughout the entire year, I honestly might put him at number one. Like if he was here throughout the beginning of the year and he played this well, I would have put him at number one probably.
They started. They got it together too late.
But all around, again, I think that I really do have a lot of hope. For XL, based solely off of what they've shown. Cage's been playing well throughout the entire year, the entirety of the year. Mikyx coming into this season. I He's a new player, and he's been really impactful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, there's a lot of things to look forward to with this team, but like that's pretty much it. You got anything else you want to say?
I got no other players. Other than the fact that I could have put jizuke on here, but I felt like what I saw out of Nemesis was just a little bit better. But nonetheless, I digress. Agree to disagree. So who is your LEC Spring Split 2019 MVP? The one player you could choose.
One player I get.
Because only one player is gonna get the MVP award. Selfmade is gonna get Rookie of the Split, so it's like.
I don't think anybody really competes with him on that, do they?
I would say for me, I'm gonna put Cabochard. I thought about it long and hard between him and Caps. And I felt like I was leaning more towards Cabochard more often than not, given the fact that what I've seen out of him throughout the entire split. If you look at just individual mechanics, 1v1, CS differential, you look at how he impacted his team, how he team fought, how he actually almost shot called for the team. It's just undoubtedly he is the MVP. But I know he won't win it.
I don't think undoubtedly is the word you should use because I do think there's competition.
Yeah, but if you're talking about just like the way what his performance, if you translate it to a lot of other players,
I don't think he's by far and away the MVP. I would not say that in the slightest. I don't even think he was the single most impactful player. I just rolled towards the end of the split. But he was one of the most consistent in terms of elite carry threats in the entire league. I do think he was probably the most consistent one. I'll probably agree with that. I do think that he 100% earned it. I think that he probably got the MVP for me too.
Not Caps. Like I really wanted to put. If I had to choose between three people, it'd be Cabochard, Caps, and then I would put freaking.
You really like Caps.
Or Jankos up here too.
I think this was a gigantic step backwards for Cap this year.
It depends. It really does because
substantially worse than he did last year.
There was like for a good majority of the split, he played just like how he did last year.
Not even a good majority. I think towards the later half of the split when they first lost
against
Origin, I think he's taken a step backwards. And even that was towards like he had a few games after that where I still think he played pretty well. But,
yeah,
like he's nowhere near the level at which he played last year.
But I digress. Our MVP for the split is Cabochard. Are you sure you would agree with? You don't want to change your mind? You're gonna put Kold up there?
No. See you later.
Hope you guys.